Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Bhan. The top stories that we're tracking for you this evening. President Trump widens his trade war, announces 50% tariff on copper without mentioning when it will come into effect, promises tariffs on semiconductors and pharma, warns pharma tariffs could even hit 200%, but only after 18 months. Also announces that tariff letters would be sent to at least 7 countries later today. Sensex and the Nifty remain stuck in a tight range, ending with minor cuts. Inflows into equity mutual funds see a 24% rise in June. Gold ETFs see a sharp surge. SIP inflows touch a record high of 27,000 crore rupees. Shares of Vedanta decline after a Shortseller says the company resembles a Ponzi scheme. Viceroy Research takes short positions on Vedanta's debt, saying the group structure is financially unstable and operationally compromised. Vedanta hits back, calling the report a malicious combination of selective misinformation and baseless allegations. The SunTV family feud is likely to have ended. Money Control reports the Maran brothers may have settled the dispute over shareholding after mediation by the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister CM Stalin. Quick commerce company Zepto set to raise up to $500 million in fresh funding. Sources say existing investors will lead the round, which values the company at $7 billion. Cisco seeks to triple its India business, citing a huge advantage to its demographics. Global CEO Chuck Robbins says India is among the top 3 markets for the company, adds uncertainty around tariffs is freezing business decisions worldwide. That's an exclusive. At least 12 killed as multiple vehicles plunge into a river following a bridge collapse in Gujarat's Vadodara during peak morning hours. The death toll is expected to rise as search and rescue operations continue. Formula One team Red Bull Racing sacks Christian Horner as the team principal after 20 years and more than 400 races. Horner's removal comes 17 months after he was accused of inappropriate behavior towards another employee. YouTube tweaks its monetization rules, will stop rewarding low-quality, repetitive content from the 15th of July, says the goal is to support authentic content. Well, let's go straight to the top story this evening. President Trump is broadening his trade war. Now, days after threatening 14 countries with higher tariffs from August, Trump is now targeting copper imports and has promised higher duty on semiconductors and pharmaceutical products. Copper prices hit a record high in trade after President Trump announced 50% tariffs. He has already imposed a 50% tariff on steel and aluminum imports. Trump did not specify when the copper tariffs will come into effect, though. Now, copper is the 3rd most consumed metal behind iron and aluminum. U.S. imports nearly half of the copper that it uses. Trump also threatened tariffs on semiconductors and pharma, adding that duties on pharma could surge up to 200%. However, he's promised 18 months more so that the pharma industry can be prepared for the tariffs. So there is a wide distance to cover before the tariffs actually kick in, if they do at all. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said that he would be releasing tariff letters or announcements pertaining to trade to at least 7 countries later today. Earlier this week, the president had threatened 14 countries with tariffs from August. These include close allies Japan and South Korea, but there was no mention of India. Trump has said that they are close to a trade deal with India. He's also threatened to impose 10% additional tariffs on BRICS nations, which include Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, calling it an anti-American alliance. Here's President Trump.
They have to pay 10% if they're in BRICS, because BRICS was set up to hurt us. BRICS was set up to degenerate our dollar and take our dollar as the standard, take it off as the standard. And that's okay if they want to play that game, but I can play that game too. So anybody that's in BRICS is getting a 10% charge.
Is that immediate, sir, or is
Yeah,
that
pretty soon.
if they engage in some behavior?
Well, if they're a member of BRICS, they're going to have to pay 10% tariff just for that one thing, and they won't be a member long. I thought BRICS was, I said this about a year ago, and it largely broke up. But, there are a couple that hang around, but I thought it largely broke up. BRICS is not, in my opinion, not a serious threat. But what they're trying to do is destroy the dollar so that another country can take over and be the standard. And we're not going to lose the standard. We did steel, as you know, they're 50%. We did aluminum, 50%. Lumber just came out.
Why don't you announce copper?
And we did cars. And now, today we're doing copper.
Copper and aluminum. What would that tariff be on? The sectional tariff?
I believe the tariff on copper, we're going to make it 50%.
50%.
And we'll be announcing something very soon on pharmaceuticals. We're going to give people about a year and a half to come in, and after that they're going to be tariffed if they have to bring the pharmaceuticals into the country, the drugs. and other things into the country. They're going to be tariffed at a very, very high rate, like 200%. We'll give them a certain period of time to get their act together. But they were all here. Now they all left. They went to other places because we allowed people that sat in this room allowed it to happen. And I don't allow it to happen. The people in this room don't allow it to happen.
Well, the tariff threats continue. And speaking of tariffs, Cisco's global CEO Chuck Robbins has said that the uncertainty around tariffs is freezing business decisions worldwide. Speaking exclusively to CNBC-TV18, Robbins said the company will try to adapt, adding that the impact of Trump's tariffs has not been meaningful on Cisco yet. The company also plans to triple its India business, citing a huge advantage on account of demographics. Robbins also said that India is among the top 3 markets for Cisco.
Well, this is the issue in the business community right now is the uncertainty just freezes everyone. Because if and when we get to the end game, then we can adapt appropriately. And so if you look at the tariffs that were put in 2018, I think it was, we knew what they were put in, and we were able to kind of flex our dynamic supply chain in order to adapt to those things. And we'll do the same to the extent we can once we see what the end game looks like. But right now, it's a little more complicated, looking at a multi-quarter P&L for the business because you just don't know which tariffs you have to consider. So what we've effectively decided to do is we're just going to look at our numbers based on what's in effect today. And then, I mean, we can do all sorts of speculating and scenario planning, but tomorrow they could be useless. India is one of the top 3 countries around the world from our perspective. If you look at the next 5 to 10 years from a growth perspective and an opportunity perspective, G2 and I came here together September, I think was the last time, and we left with this unbelievable view that we needed to begin to invest even more heavily here.
There's such a huge advantage that India has right now because of the demographics. What I think we have is this unique opportunity in India where there's going to be an exponential rise in throughput per capita.
G2 and I are pressing our team in a massive way here that we should be able to triple the size of the business.
Along to the day's market action, the Sensex and the Nifty ended with minor cuts after a range-bound session. A sharp fall in reliance in the last hour dragged the Nifty to levels below the 25,500 mark. IT stocks were under pressure ahead of TCS's earnings tomorrow, with the index ending 1% lower. Shares on Wall Street have opened in the green after declining for the last 2 days. Nvidia has become the first company to hit $4 trillion in valuation. The chip-making giant now leads the pecking order, with Microsoft at $3.7 trillion and Apple at $3.1 trillion. At $4 trillion, Nvidia's size is 75% of India's entire equity market. It is as big as India's annual GDP. From equities to mutual funds, inflows into equity funds rose 24% in June after 5 straight months of decline. Surabhi joins us now with the MF report card. Surabhi.
After a really disappointing May, when flows had dipped below 19,000 crores, mutual fund equity inflows for the month of June have recovered. There's about a 24% recovery. You can see that last bar is now at 23,500. Now, how is it split across mid-cap, large-cap, small-cap? The preference for investors is still small and mid-caps. That's the headline, because you can see the large-cap funds there. They've recovered from May, but now compare this with how the flows are for mid and small. Mid-cap funds flows are about 3,750 crores. Small-cap fund flows are even better at 4,000 crores plus. So overall, there's a recovery coming in. But I do want to point out here that the data is telling, and it probably is telling us that investors are becoming very smart. Because while equity funds have pulled in 23,500 odd crores, look at hybrid funds. They have also pulled in over 23,000 crores, 23,200 something to be more precise. So we're almost neck to neck in terms of pure equity flows and hybrid flows. And it's telling you that people are taking a balanced approach. They are looking at diversification. And the fact that a lot of the hybrid funds have very attractive tax structures as well now after the budget. This is making, this particular category fairly popular. The other good news is that the SIP picture is rock steady. In fact, monthly SIP flows are now above 27,000 crores. So that pillar is rising higher and higher. So looking fairly good.
All right, Surbhi, many thanks. Now, a report published by US-based short-seller Viceroy Research alleges that the Vedanta Group structure is financially unsustainable, operationally compromised, and poses a severe, underappreciated risk to creditors. The company's hit back, calling the report a malicious combination of selective misinformation and baseless allegations. Hormuz is standing by with the key allegations levelled by Viceroy Research against Vedanta. What is the short-seller's claim, Hormuz?
Another short seller saga that has emerged here, and this time around it is Viceroy Research. This come out with a note against Vedanta, and they've mentioned the fact that this entire group structure is financially unsustainable and operationally compromised and poses a severe underappreciated risk to the company's creditors. Now, they have highlighted the parent company, that is Vedanta Resources, that is systematically draining the listed entity by draining cash out to service its own debt burden, and this entire arrangement, according to Viceroy Research, has pushed the group on the brink of insolvency, is what they have mentioned. Now, certain observations that the Viceroy Group has made against Vedanta, they say that their interest expenses have vastly exceeded their reported note rates, and despite the decline in paydowns and restructuring, despite the decline in debt, the interest expenses continue to rise for the group. Now, they also say that there are a lot of non-performing operating subsidiaries with inflated asset values, is what they have observed, and the debt across these non-performing subsidiaries vastly exceeds their true value, and it is cross-collateralized across the group, is the observation that they have made, and billions of dollars worth of disputed amounts have been kept away from the balance sheet and are not disclosed in the financial statements, is what Viceroy Research has said. Now, over the last 4 years, Vedanta Limited has paid dividends worth over 80,000 crore rupees, where the parent company at one point of time owned around 65% stake, but they have sold that down to around 56% currently. And if you see the last 4 years as well, the payouts have ranged anywhere between 16,000 crores to as high as 40,000 crore rupees. Now, in a response to CNBC-TV18, the Vedanta Group said that this report is a malicious combination of selective misinformation and baseless allegations to discredit the group, and it has been issued without making any prior contacts to the company, and they have issued this with the sole objective of creating false propaganda. They have chose to sensationalize information that is already available in public domain, and the timing of the report is also suspect, and it could be ahead of the corporate activity that the group is about to undertake. They have also added disclaimers saying that the report is only for educational purposes on multiple occasions, and Vedanta continues to remain focused on the growth of their business, and they have appealed to avoid speculation and unsubstantiated allegations. In response, the Viceroy Group also wrote on X saying that they have dismissed their 85-page report thoroughly without attempting to discredit their work, and this is likely because they are unlikely to refute their holdings and their findings, and they are happy to take questions. So, more short seller allegations emerging against Vedanta right before the demerger is about to be completed. The stock reacting to that in response.
All right, Hormuz, many thanks. A quick check of some of the other headlines. Asian Paints has confirmed that it has sold its last remaining stake in AkzoNobel India for about 734 crore rupees. ICICI Pru is one of the buyers. They purchased shares worth 256 crores. India's aviation regulator, the DGCA, has told the parliamentary panel it is taking steps to curb the rise of airfares during periods of high demand. The DGCA said that it may fix a price ceiling on certain routes when demand rises. Members of the panel also questioned official agencies and private airlines over safety standards being followed. The SunTV family feud has likely ended. As per Money Control, the Maran brothers may have settled the dispute over shareholding after mediation by Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M. Stalin. Chandra Srikanth joins us now with more. Chandra.
Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has played a pivotal role in bringing about a settlement between the Maran brothers. SunTV Chairman Kalanidhi Maran and his brother Dayanidhi Maran, former Union Minister and DMK parliamentarian. Now, a meeting was held in the presence of Stalin, who is a cousin of the Maran brothers, his son, Deputy Chief Minister Udayanidhi Stalin, as well as the Maran brothers and their sister Anbukarsi, where they decided to hammer out terms of a settlement. It is not clear yet what the terms of this settlement are. If this is going to be a cash compensation for Dayanidhi Maran, or if he and his children will also get some of the media assets that are currently controlled by Kalanidhi Maran. Now remember, this truce comes weeks after Danidhi Maran shot off a legal notice to Kalanidhi Maran, making some very serious allegations from fraud to money laundering to cheating. He also threatened to enforce civil, criminal enforcement and regulatory proceedings against his older brother unless the shareholding of SunTV was restored to the 2003 state. Now, we don't know what will happen to those charges, but clearly this is not going to be a publicly fought out battle. The brothers have settled thanks to the intervention of DMK leader and TNCM MK Stalin.
All right, Chandra, many thanks for joining us. Up next, YouTube tweaks its monetization rules, will stop rewarding low-quality, repetitive content. That and more when we return. And you can watch all of CNBC-TV18's news and updates on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X and Jio Hotstar. Another Bombay High Court judge has recused himself from hearing HDFC Bank MD Shashidhar Jagdishan's plea to caution FIR against him registered by the Leelavati Hospital's trust. He is the fourth judge to have recused himself from hearing the case. The HDFC Bank CEO had moved the Supreme Court seeking relief after 3 judges had earlier refused to hear the plea. The Apex Court sent the matter back to the Bombay High Court, and now a 4th judge has recused himself from the case. Elon Musk-backed Starlink is a step closer to starting operations in India. The company has received final approval from India's space regulator to commence commercial operations. However, the company has to receive clearance from the Home Ministry and the Telecom Department to operate in India. Quick commerce giant Zepto is in advanced stages to raise $450 to $500 million from existing investors in a fresh funding round. Sources say this funding round will value the company at $7 billion. Aishwarya standing by with more on Zepto's fundraise. Aishwarya.
Zepto is gearing up for another major fundraise. Sources have confirmed to CNBC-TV18 that the IPO-bound quick commerce unicorn is in advanced talks to raise $450 to $500 million in primary capital at a post-money valuation of $7 billion, a sharp 40% jump from its $5 billion valuation last year, when it raised $1.3 billion. The round will be led by General Catalyst and Avenir Growth, with other existing investors expected to participate on a pro-rata basis. Now, this comes as part of Zepto's broader strategy to increase domestic ownership ahead of a potential public listing. In May this year, Motilal Oswal and Ramdeo Agarwal invested $50 million each in their personal capacities to acquire stakes. Meanwhile, competition is intensifying. According to ICICI Securities, Blinkit's gross order value grew over 25% on a sequential basis in the first quarter of this fiscal year, with Swiggy's Instamart rising 22%. Datum Intelligence reports that Zepto's daily active users fell from 5.5 million in December 2024 to 4.9 million in June 2025, while Blinkit rose to 6.2 million. Despite rising competition, Zepto remains a strong player. As per a Citi report, while Blinkit leads the market with a 41% share, Zepto is either equal or slightly ahead of Swiggy Instamart's 23% market share.
All right, Aishwarya, many thanks for joining us. That's the latest on Zepto's fundraiser. At least 13 people killed and 7 vehicles plunged into the Mahisagar River after a bridge collapsed in Gujarat's Vadodara district. A portion of the Gambhira bridge gave way during peak traffic hours. The 4-decade-old bridge connects the districts of Vadodara and Anand. A large-scale rescue operation is currently underway and authorities are investigating the cause of the collapse. Prime Minister Modi has announced a compensation of 2 lakh rupees for the families of the victims. In international news, Israeli forces continue to bombard Gaza, hitting a refugee camp in the enclave. This comes a day after the military killed at least 95 Palestinians. President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu met for the second time to discuss a ceasefire. However, there was no breakthrough. Ukraine's President Zelensky has said that Russia launched 728 drones and 13 missiles at 741 targets. The Ukrainian leader argued that Russia's continuing aggression is proof that sanctions are needed. Meanwhile, Russia has accused Ukraine of killing 3 in Kursk in a drone attack. However, Ukraine has denied targeting civilians. Around 109 people are dead and over 160 are still missing after flash floods ravaged central Texas on the 4th of July. The state governor, Greg Abbott, has said the search and rescue operations are ongoing, adding that most of the unaccounted people are from hill country, since no one from the region has checked into hotels or registered at camps yet. Apple has named Sabi Khan as its new Chief Operating Officer. Khan will take over from Jeff Williams as part of a long-planned succession. Khan currently serves as Senior Vice President of Operations and has been with Apple for 3 decades. He is set to officially take over as the CEO later this month. Starbucks is looking to sell its stake in its China operations. Reports suggest the company's Chinese division has attracted offers for a potential stake sale that values the unit between $5 and $10 billion. Most prospective investors in the business are eyeing a controlling stake in the operation. Starbucks' China business has been grappling with intense competition from lower-priced local players. Formula One team Red Bull Racing has sacked Christian Horner as the team principal with immediate effect. The 51-year-old Horner is the longest-serving team principal in F1 history, overseeing more than 400 races in 20 years. Red Bull won 8 driver world championships and 6 constructors championships under Horner. The removal comes 17 months after he was accused of inappropriate behavior towards a female employee. YouTube has tweaked its monetization rules. The platform will stop rewarding low-quality, repetitive content from the 15th of July in a bid to support authentic content. Shilpa joins us now with more. Shilpa, take us through the guidelines that YouTube has put out.
Well, YouTube has updated its guidelines, and the main goal here is to sort of filter videos that are repetitive or auto-generated or even lack originality. Now, as per the updated policy, content will now be denied monetization if it uses the same visuals or scripts repeatedly or is copied or slightly altered from other sources or AI tools or even doesn't reflect any personal creativity or real value. Now, the platform has clarified what qualifies as original or authentic content. That includes content that is created entirely by the channel owner with clear personal input. Even if an idea is borrowed, creators are expected to transform it significantly to make it their own. YouTube says that the goal is to support authentic content, videos that are original and not made solely to chase views, and are also not churned out using automation, AI or templates. Now, these changes apply to channels under the YouTube Partner Program, which requires at least 1,000 subscribers and either 4,000 public watch hours in the past year or 10 million valid short views in the last 90 days. Now, why are these changes significant, especially in a market like India? Because India is a key market for YouTube. With in 2024 alone, over 100 million channels in India uploaded content, with more than 15,000 of them crossing 1 million subscribers. And in the last 3 years alone, YouTube has paid out over 21,000 crore rupees to Indian creators, artists and media companies. And now the platform also plans to invest another 850 crore in India over the next 2 years to further grow the creator economy. But YouTube is clear that with that growth comes a stronger push for quality, authenticity and originality. Back to you.
All right, Shilpa, many thanks for joining us. That is the latest there from YouTube. From metro coaches to the upcoming sleeper version of the Vande Bharat, Titagarh Rail Systems is assembling some of the country's most advanced trains at its Uttarpara facility near Kolkata. Rachna takes us inside the factory.
We are here at Titagarh's railway factory in Uttarpara near Kolkata, and this is one of the key sites when it comes to the transformation of the Indian railways.
And this is the Pune Metro, India's only aluminium-bodied metro coach. It's lighter than stainless steel, more energy efficient over the life of the train.
This is different from other metros. We also saw the Bangalore Metro being assembled there. How is Pune Metro different from the Bangalore Metro?
So I think the biggest difference would actually be the material of the car body, where in this case is aluminium and Bangalore is stainless steel. Now, an aluminium car body or an aluminium train is lighter than that of a stainless steel coach. In a life cycle of the train itself, it consumes a lot more energy. It's a lot more energy efficient than a stainless steel coach. But the upfront cost is a little bit higher.
From the car body to cables, panels, HVAC and propulsion, everything comes together on this floor.
To produce one coach of this Pune Metro, what is the cost like?
So the selling price of the coach is, of an average metro coach, is roughly 10 crores. And the manufacturing cost is quite close to that with a 10% EBITDA.
From what we have understood is that this component right here is the first one that goes on to assembling the upcoming Vande Bharat. Now, the prototype is expected sometime soon, but the rollout is sometime next year. When we speak of the fleet business, the wagon business, what is the order book like there? Like you said, it's only domestic. Your biggest client is Indian Railways. What's the FY26 outlook for that?
So we have about 10 and a half, 11 odd thousand wagons worth of orders still with us.
From aluminium metros to sleeper trains, and now its own wheel facility. Titagarh's journey reflects the growing role of private players in India's rail story. Industry experts believe that as capex surges, execution and localization will be key. And this factory may just be a glimpse of what the future looks like. In Kolkata, I'm Rachna Dhanrajani.
And with that, it is a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thanks very much for watching. The news will continue right here on CNBC-TV18.